You've tuned into Invisi Youth Chat Sessions, a video podcast series. Our episode starts right now. Here's your host, Dominique Vale.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Invisi Youth Chat Sessions, where you can check in for your dose of stigma-breaking, empowerment-building, humor-filling, life hacks, and motivational tips for all of the medically adultish people in life. I'm Dominique Vale, the founder of Invisi Youth and your host, and today is episode 10. We're in double digits, this is ridiculous, of our podcast series. So we are so excited to have you guys here while we hit our double digit marker. This is also another episode still in our theme of the So You've Got the Diagnosis, Now What themed group. This is also where we interview guests from around the world who are experts in all these different types of careers that you guys have shown so much interest in. So we're giving you the inside trader secrets on what ways you can get into these careers and balance that with health struggles and ways to break a lot of the stigmas that come along with it. So one of the biggest career options that we always hear about is that so many of you have blogs and social media accounts and wanting to know how can we actually make that a career. So we have decided to bring on a professional blogger to be our special guest expert today, and we're going to give you all of the tips, tricks, and motivation to get to that next step and see if maybe being a blogger would be a good career option for many of you. So I'm so excited for our guest today. She is a British lifestyle, beauty, and fitness blogger, Ali Hemsley. After being diagnosed with fibromyalgia and ME, which is myalgic encephalomyelitis, also known as chronic fatigue syndrome, as a teenager, Ali had to learn the balance between going to university while also balancing health and mental health struggles. So during this time, Ali became a blogger and was sharing with a very big growing audience her lifestyle, fashion, and beauty tips and fitness advice to many people. What really makes Ali to us stand out against all the other bloggers in the community is her passionate charisma and her open honesty about being a blogger that also lives with chronic illness. And Ali's specific interests in lifestyle, beauty, and fashion are really evident in her blogging and her social media because she really shares how that fits into her life and not only are special interests of hers, but also how that balance comes with being an activist for the health community. Really, this is shown recently a lot with Ali because she has some accolades to her name. She's been named one of the top lifestyle bloggers under 25 by Hibs 100 this year, and she's been a mental health advocate with one of the massive UK campaigns, Time to Change. So, Ali, welcome to the show.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
Yes, we're so excited to have you, and we're going to jump right into our first segment so our guests can get to know you a bit more and we can have a little bit of fun with you before we get into the nitty-gritty. So we're going to go into our first segment, Rapid Fire Roundup.
Rapid Fire Round.
Okay, guys, with Rapid Fire Roundup, this is the quick, fun question round for our guests that we get to allow our audience, our listeners and viewers, to get to know some quirky, insightful, and sometimes meaningful ideas of these different people and bringing out the first thing that pops into their mind. I'm laughing because clearly I'm having a tongue twister, so I can't even think of the first thing that comes to my mind. So, Ali, we're going to go through these real quick. First thing that pops into your head.
Okay.
All right. First thing you do in the morning.
Check Instagram.
I love it. A movie that you can watch over and over again.
Dan in Real Life.
I've never heard of it. Who's in that?
Oh, it's Steve Carell.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Really, really good.
Oh, now I'm adding that to my list. What has been a favorite TV show of yours when you were a kid?
Oh, I loved everything. Oh, that's so hard. I can't pick one. Oh, The Simpsons. The Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
I was going to go real old school and say Lizzie McGuire was probably mine.
Yes. Good.
Bring back old school Disney. What would be a word that you think you find yourself using a lot all day?
Sensational. I don't know why I keep using it at the minute. I keep commenting on everyone's Instagram like, you look sensational.
That's a good word to use too.
It's good.
If you could live anywhere besides England, where would you like to move?
New York.
Oh, hey, and we film and record this in New York. There we go. What is a fashion trend that you just have never understood?
You know the shoes you get and they're like plastic, but clear plastic?
Yes.
And then they make your feet sweat and they all like go like a greenhouse. I'm not into that.
Fogging in your shoes is probably a very weird trend, I agree. What about being a night owl or a morning bird?
Definitely night owl.
I agree, same here. What about a favorite sport you like to watch?
Football, although I love watching gymnastics because I'd never be able to do it.
Now I have to ask, with football, what's your favorite team then?
Oh, see, I'm not allowed to say because my brothers support Liverpool. So if I say anyone other than that, I would get told
Okay,
off.
then we can say your brother has good taste because I'm a Liverpool fan too, so we'll go
Hey.
right there. So what are the types of posts that you like to double tap on the most on Instagram?
Oh, I double tap on everything. Mainly food. I love a bit of food.
A good food photo sometimes is just the best photo. What about one of your favorite tattoos you've had?
Oh, I've got so many. This is so tough. In my sleeve, I've got a quote from Othello, which is just my favorite thing ever. It's the robbed that smiles steals something from the thief, which basically means, you know, if someone hurts you and you can still smile about it, you've actually taken something from them rather than they've taken something from you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And last one, what is a favorite way you like to get involved in charity?
Oh, everything. I think volunteering, like actual hands-on, is the best way to do it.
I love it. Good. We're going to end our rapid fire roundup. You got through that with flying colors. And we're going to go to another fun segment as well with you. And we're going to go to our Life Tinder Challenge.
Life Tinder Challenge. Swipe right.
All right, guys, with Life Tinder Challenge, it's just like the dating apps out there. We get to have a humor and informative chat with our guests where they get to swipe left and swipe right on the different career moves that can work well with them, different tricks and tips that happen within the blogging world, and we're going to get Allie to swipe heck yes or no way in different directions. So I believe no is left and yes is right. So we are going to just go with that and just swipe yes or no. So first off, Instagram promoted health kicks and tricks. What do you think of those?
Oh, that's tough because it definitely depends who's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think health can be so dangerous to promote the wrong thing. So I might have to swipe left on that. I'm going to say no.
Yeah, sometimes I always say a good thing is if you find people like yourself that people can sort of physically relate to, either from a health standpoint or they have similar workout regimes as somebody on Instagram, then maybe their promotion works well. But other times, you know, if I looked at somebody that was doing kickboxing full on professionally and lifting massive weights, it would probably, I would think it looks great, but I probably would not suggest myself to agree to what they're doing at all.
Definitely. And I don't want people like following any Kim Kardashian diet plans out there.
No, I agree. We need those really attractive Instagram photos then of good food, and we'll put those up then instead and promote that. What about revealing your illness kind of quickly when you either meet new people or when you're starting a new blog?
Yeah, swipe right, definitely.
Yeah, I love that.
If you feel comfortable, then do it.
Yeah, absolutely. What about what I like to call inspiration porn, as we put in air quotes, sort of when the media uses disability or illness to showcase motivation for other people?
Swipe right because at least we're getting out there. At least we're seeing more diverse people, and that's never going to be a bad thing.
Yeah, I always say when it comes to what we quote on as inspiration porn and air quotes, one word I never thought we would be saying on the Charities podcast is probably that when you think that you're doing something, I have healthy, able-bodied friends that will say, oh, I'm doing something inspirational or I am an inspiration, where I'll joke it's just me doing something on my day-to-day. Now, if I'm actually doing something that I'm achieving while having an illness, then heck yeah, you can say it's an inspiration or motivating. But if it's just sort of I'm walking up the stairs and you know I can do that all the time, but you know my health story, and then I'm a motivation, we go, all right, if you're achieving something, then it's inspirational. But if it's just because you're living with an illness or disability, probably not.
Oh yeah, like I'm horrible most of the time.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be called inspirational when I'm like eating popcorn and watching Netflix. That's not inspiring.
That's when I would think you'd be your most motivational, Allie, is right on the couch eating some popcorn.
That's how I spend most of my time. It's fine.
What about sort of those motivational quotes that you find on Instagram or blogs all the time?
Oh, definitely swipe right. I love them.
Why do you like to use them? Because I know a lot of times on your Instagram I'll see them pop up quite a bit. Why do you like to use them a lot?
I just think it's nice to offer someone a different perspective or a different way of thinking. And I think the thing about quotes is I love setting them as my wallpaper.
Oh,
So
nice.
just a little reminder of something nice.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think a good thing with motivational quotes is they can be like a good song, get you out of a funk or get you out of a bad day. Or sometimes be that motivational kick in the ass that you need to get up and move and be like, all right, I need to do something today. We can't just wallow for a little. So I do think definitely swipe right on those. What about good old illness promoting paraphernalia? So like T-shirts or jewelry that have charity quotes on them or mention illness sort of in funny different ways.
I think definitely swipe right. One of my friends, he's got cerebral palsy and he's in a wheelchair and he's got this brilliant T-shirt that says like, I'm only in it for the parking. And
I love that shirt.
It's my day every time.
I love that shirt. Yeah, we had a different episode on with a breast cancer previvor and owns a breast cancer charity, and she loves the T-shirts that have like breast cancer jokes on them or breasties, as she calls them, written on because she says, oh, it's a conversation starter. So we learned that one from Paige Moore, and definitely I've added a few of those into my wardrobe. And then seeing illness jewelry definitely for mental health has been really cool watching that lately, and seeing different like bracelets and necklaces that say like anxiety or inhale, exhale, I thought has been really interesting to sort of take the invisible mental health perspective and put it into jewelry.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's ones that say things like breathe on, and just that must be a nice reminder to have on your wrist if you're feeling a bit rubbish and you just look at that and go, oh yeah, I need to breathe.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't you think it's like a good conversation starter and on the mental health side? Because I know you do a lot of advocacy with mental health campaigns too. Don't you think that might be a good way to get young people to get that conversation moving?
Yeah, definitely. I think with mental health, the important thing is just starting that conversation. So if you find a way to do it by wearing some jewelry or a T-shirt, then that's fine.
I love it. Yeah, no, absolutely. And our last Tinder challenge for you is public versus private social media accounts when it comes to talking about your illness or disability.
I feel like I have to swipe right on this.
You're like, it's my job.
It's my job. I can't say no to this.
But do you have any sort of advice on that end because you've built sort of a brand where your health is part of your sort of your brand itself? Do you think there's ways that you would sort of suggest either having a personal account that's private and then doing one public, or what would you advise?
Yeah, I definitely think it would be easier if you have your own personal one. I don't. So everything goes to my public one, and that's great. But there's times when, if I put up an emotional post or a vulnerable post, I'll get so many lovely messages, which is great. But then sometimes that can be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it might be nice to be able to retreat to like a private one for a while.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think even just as we'll always say, is sort of starting out in blogging or using Instagram or Twitter to do advocacy or talking about your health and connecting with the community, having a private one that's with your friends and family that you can kind of use without your illness being sort of the forefront of your identifier is definitely, like you said, a good tip. Everyone will joke, our volunteers at InvisiYouth joke, the only social media I've ever had is Facebook, and so they had to teach me how to use Instagram and Twitter and everything else for the charity, because they're like, you're so boring, you don't have anything else. So I'm like, I don't talk about it anywhere else, I talk about it with you guys, so that's where my social media savvy goes very tiny. So yeah, that's the end of Tinder. You have made some pretty good matches, so I'll be successful for that. And we're going to jump into one we're going to get a lot of tips from Allie and definitely some motivation. We're going to go into Break That Glass Ceiling.
Break that glass ceiling.
All right, break that glass ceiling is one of my favorite phrases and one of my favorite segments. This is where we talk about the platforms and work that our guests do in their careers and get that conversation started by talking about what's often taboo or under-discussed or stigmatized with misconceptions, especially of going into the blogging world professionally and even talking about your health in that public sphere. So for us, we're not only doing this to sort of give you the tips on breaking into that industry, but also finding ways to end those stigmas and even just recognize different stigmas or misconceptions that you might see so we can break that ceiling together and build new walls and not more barriers. So obviously sort of a big one, Allie, wanting to talk to you about is sort of a two-parter. How did you get into blogging and social media, and how did that really for you, what were things that you noticed that were letting you know you could transition it into a business for yourself?
It's really funny because I kind of never meant to have this as my career. I was actually training to be a personal trainer.
Love it.
Yeah, and I was sharing my sort of fitness journey online, just, I started out really different to how I am now, and I'd just take a mirror photo of me in my gym outfit and then post it and kind of see what happened. And then it started growing and growing, and as I became more interested in the fashion side of things, I then got a different range of followers, and then I got to a point where I actually had an ankle injury, so I couldn't complete my personal training qualifications.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was a bit of like okay, well, I can't do that. So I invested my energy into my blog and my Instagram, and it's just kind of gone from there.
No, absolutely. And I know I've seen even recently, since we've been introduced to you, sort of a shameless plug to the chat sessions I think it was our episode 4 where we had another British blogger, the creator of Blogging in Bed. She's our global brand leader, Amy Saunders. When we asked about favorite bloggers, you were like the first one that popped up on her recommendation list on that part of the episode. She said, "Oh, Allie Hemsley," and started describing your blog to our listeners and viewers. So that was definitely things that she noticed too, was a lot of your sort of combination of fitness with sort of lifestyle beauty tips, but then also talking about your health. So was that something that when you were noticing and then making that transition into it becoming more of like a full-time activity, did you think maybe I should talk about my health with this, or did it sort of happen in a different way?
I mean, at the beginning, I was always quite open about it because it's weird. Where I dropped out of college when I was 17, I just studied from home, and then when I was at university, but I kind of wasn't there because I spent most of the time in bed. So I didn't have that worry about, my friends are going to see this and, worry about me. I didn't have that kind of stigma in my own head about it.
Yeah.
So I was always quite open about it. And then when I kind of went into fashion, it got to a point that I felt I needed to explain almost why I can't shoot, 7 outfits in a week all the time, and why there's times when I need breaks. And then I found that being open and honest actually serves me much better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that in a way that it was always sort of your format. It was just, it serves you better to be open when it came to your health and into the interest that you liked. Were there things, though, that when you were doing it that you felt, I think this was the different moments that was when you were realizing this could then become a career choice, things that you were noticing, or were people then starting to contact you and that was like, I can probably make this a career?
Yeah, once I kind of got to about 8,000 on Instagram, that was when I sort of started getting a lot more emails inviting me to things or inviting me to collaborate. And then from 10K onwards, it has just been absolutely crazy. That swipe up feature is obviously what people are looking for, because
it's the dream. I want the swipe up feature for the charity.
I think everyone should have the swipe up feature. I want to start a petition.
Instagram, we need to get on this. I mean, Insta story is great, but we need that swipe up for everybody. What about for you? I know a big thing when you sort of became doing this more often, and like you said, when your following became growing exponentially and faster and more people were reading your blog and seeing you on social media, did you notice what were sort of the stigmas or misconceptions about you being a blogger professionally with illness that you might have noticed from people reading and looking at your blogging?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an expectation in terms of blogging and the industry. Like bloggers, you think about it, and when you're not in the industry, you think, oh yeah, that's great. They go out for brunch and then they take some outfit photos and then they're done. And it's not. It is almost 24/7. It is crazy the amount that you're expected to do. I'll get emails from brands at like 1 a.m. expecting a reply. And that's not going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
So I think managing those expectations was really key for me, and learning how to say no to people, because I'm such a people pleaser and I find that really hard. So I think learning to say no and sort of set my boundaries really, really helped on that. But in terms of like the misconceptions and stuff, I think one of the things that I found, or that I worried about, was that people would see my photos and go, well, there's nothing wrong with her. So that's why I started doing the sort of what you see, what you don't see sort of mini campaign that I've done, and it's 2 photos side by side, and you know, I highlight the mental health problems that I have or the chronic illness problems that I have, and I think that's made a real difference in just highlighting to people that there's a lot going on beyond the surface behind a one picture that they don't see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know that's actually, those photos were how we then were introduced to you at InvisiYouth, was sort of seeing your side-by-side photos. And I mean, they're for anyone who hasn't seen Ali Hemsley's side-by-side photos, they are beautiful photos with lots of pretty colors and words around them. And it is definitely, it takes a minute. You definitely notice it right away of sort of, it makes its point across very visually and quickly for somebody looking at them, what you're sort of promoting even as a blogger, because your photos are blogger professional, and if someone saw your grid, it's pretty spot on perfect. So definitely, if anyone had grid envy, that would probably be looking at yours. It's gorgeous.
I plan it, so it better be.
So definitely, I think on that end, that's really what you're kind of hitting it home, is sort of people then associating that bloggers having an illness, either it's not going to look the way bloggers without illnesses would. And your sort of blogging style and everything looks pretty identical, not identical in style, but it does sort of look like any other blogger who would have health struggles or not, because you sort of cohesively blend them into one another. It's sort of just part of your brand, but your style is sort of the over encompassing thing about what you do as a blogger. So I think that's been a nice way that you've shown that you can address your health, but it doesn't have to take away or become a very different looking post or photo.
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing is, I spend the majority of my time sitting on my sofa. Like I do. I rest a lot. But I don't want to put up pictures of that, because to me, that's not enjoyable for me to look back on. But, you know, if I get dressed up in a pretty outfit and I take some pictures and I post them, if I'm having a bad day, I can look back and go, oh yeah, actually, there is times when I can do this, and there's times when I feel happy and confident. And it's nice for me to have like an aesthetic looking feed. That matters to me. And if that matters to you, you can do it as well. It's just an option of how you want it to look.
Yeah, and I love that you said that it's actually a good reminder, because there is what I think is a good thing with blogging that we've sort of been introduced to, is that you can either be very upfront and sort of show the sort of bad days and negative sides and show those days of yours, and then also your good days, so then you can sort of show the ebbs and flows of being a young adult with chronic illness. But I love that you said, I like posting the nice photos, my happy photos, the empowering photos, because when I am having a bad day, it's helpful for you to then see and be a good reminder. So I think that's a nice tip for people too, is that they can use it as a reminding piece for themselves as well, that they will have a good day, even if the one that they're in is not the best day from a health perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's great about Instagram stories. Like, if you're having a bad day, you can post on there, and then you'll get loads of lovely messages back from people, like supporting you or agreeing with you or just giving you a little dog picture. I get a lot of them. and then 24 hours, it's gone. You don't have to look back on that and go, oh, look, that was me feeling bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's a great thing too, of knowing that you can use your social media and your blogging platforms differently, is definitely probably like a helpful tip for people in blogging. But I know for you, one thing that you and I even sort of chatted about and you kind of touched on earlier was this idea of if you wanted to be a blogger professionally, it's that idea of projecting perfection. So
Yeah.
for you, what are ways that you've challenged that stigma, or especially with having a chronic illness, what are ways that you've even been challenged by that, of people then wondering with you, with your health in different scenarios, or even making comments that of misconception about your health?
I think for me, I'm quite lucky. I haven't had many negative comments, and I'm very thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
There has been a few times where people have commented, and they commented on one of my mental health pictures with a side by side and went, "Oh, well, she can't have PTSD. Everyone's got PTSD," and it's like, it's irrelevant. And
Yeah.
I think you just have to detach yourself a little bit from that. But I think you just get to a point where you realize, like, the proof's in the pudding. It is. When I post my what you see, what you don't see pictures, I get the best engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Like, I get the best engagement. In my most recent one before today, I did a mental health one, and it reached 250,000 people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I had over 1,000 new followers in a day. And that was just like, oh, okay. It's like that light bulb moment where I suddenly went, this is what people want to see. And yes, perfection's nice, and it's nice to look at a really pretty feed sometimes, but sometimes people want that dose of reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that sort of is sort of within the blogging industry itself, is that your either brands that you're working with or even collaborating with other bloggers, that it's sort of a challenge or a pressure that a lot of you feel to project that perfection for people to look at?
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing is, it is changing though. That's the great thing. I mean, the River Island campaign, they did a campaign a few months ago, and especially with their children's campaign, they're using children which are disabled, both like physical and sort of more the mental disabilities. And it's just so lovely to see. And they did this campaign that, like, labels are just for clothes. And so companies are becoming more aware of the need for diversity, but definitely it's still an issue. And I mean, I'm not even at a point where I would be comfortable saying to a brand, oh, okay, yeah, I'll shoot that fashion content. I'm going to use my stick, because I feel that there is that thing in the back of my head still that they are looking for models, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think even sort of you hit on it too. I know we heard about Mark and Spencer's, which is a UK clothing company. They just released that they were going to be working either having kid models that had disabilities as well, in a clothing line that worked well adaptively with them. And then the Ari activewear line, they did a big campaign that we've talked about quite a bit. Gap, I believe, recently is doing it as well, and a lot of their models are showing surgical scars from congenital heart disease. And they said a lot of those models who are bloggers like yourself, they did say it was a big step for them to showcase sort of their illness and their health struggle as part of their modeling side of themselves as well too. So it is definitely combining the two that they thought was a good way for them to break the glass ceiling on blogging, and sort of break that stigma of, I can't talk about my bad days of my health while also having the blogging world too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're just all learning at the minute. I think social media's got to a place where it's going to make or break us. It is. And I think so many people are realizing that, and realizing the effects that social media has on mental health. And so people are going, okay, well, this could be used for good. And it is. It's connected us now. It's connected me with tons of people. And I feel like as long as you are comfortable and proud of what you're doing within the industry, then that's what matters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think sort of that's been a good way that you've even broken a lot of norms in the blogging spheres, because you've been able to kind of combine your activism work with your sort of lifestyle branding, and it looks very similar on a feed standpoint, but if you read your posts, you do get into a lot of sort of the lifestyle element of your blogging day to day while also having a chronic illness. So I think that's been a good way. And seeing other bloggers as well, I imagine that you've even gotten to collaborate with, that they get to talk about their mental health or their mental well-being or even health struggles they might have not been addressing in their blogging career for a while.
Yeah, definitely. I think the conversation's out there now. You know, whatever our differences are, I think there's the conversation at the minute that we've all got something. We've all got something going on behind closed doors. And I mean, I follow a load of bloggers who started posting outtake photos because they're like, I don't want you guys to think I'm perfect. And the outtake photos are hilarious. And I love them. And they probably get more engagement than their normal photos do, because that's the proof, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I love that. That's sort of like and I imagine your outtake photos are probably still class act good photos as well.
They're really not.
You should just make that an Insta story one day of like every hour, just put up an outtake photo or video clip and just be like, this is my whole day. I know a big thing is sort of a tip that we've gotten even from when we would post different photos too, or even when I was sort of being put forward doing the video podcast series and people wanted me to associate physically and myself as the owner and the founder of the charity with InvisiYouth's brand a lot too. Obviously, a lot of it is sort of my mission, and the spine of it is through myself because I built it. But now we have a whole team of people that work with me and volunteers and brand leaders that work with us too, and getting to collaborate with people like yourself. And a big thing that we always learned and that I've always been able to say is that illness and my health is not sort of the only defining. It's not like my skill set. It's part of me building my skill set with building a nonprofit, and it's part of my identifier, but it's not the only thing that I would put in a bio describing. So for me, it's just the scope in which I do my work. So we'll always see, even from a blogging perspective as well, it's sort of the scope that you're doing your day-to-day work, but it's not your skill set is because I have chronic illness, I'm able to look at this is my brand. It's because you have chronic illness, I look at the world differently and I post things differently than somebody else, and it makes your brand more unique.
Yeah, exactly. And I think part of why I love fashion so much is I spent a lot of time when I was younger, sort of in that teens, really early 20s, I wasn't well. And I spent a lot of time in bed, and I spent the majority of my time in like the same hoodie and tracksuit bottoms that I've been wearing for a week. So for me, it's really nice now to get out there and experiment with clothes and fashion. And that's kind of why I love it so much now. I feel like I've recaptured that part of myself.
I love that. And that's actually, you have just made the perfect transition for me to go into our next segment. See, you can host your own shows now. There we go. Going right there with that. So we're going to go into our next segment, speaking of fashion and brands, talking to Allie about our next segment being What's Your Life Playlist?
What's your life playlist? What's your life playlist?
All right, with What's Your Life Playlist, this is where we chat with our guests about some of the latest trends, gifts, quotes, apps, podcasts, TV shows, fashion trends that they would add to their playlist of life to make it more adaptive, more accessible, and especially with building that career, those ultimate life hacks of being in the professional blogging and creative community, of how they're able to build a playlist that makes their life more accessible to them and now for all of you. So this is where you take out that notes app on your phone, or take out that pen and paper if you're old school like me, and you write some notes to get ready for a lifestyle section of our show. So obviously, sort of starting out, what would be, who would be on your playlist of fellow bloggers that you think have been really motivational for you, or even got you into blogging the way you do?
Oh, wow. There's so many. There is tons. I follow like over 1,000 people, and I think they are all amazing. I think Shah Victory, I don't know if you know her, she is great. She's was diagnosed last year with MS.
Okay.
And I just love her posts. She's so beautiful inside and out, and she really inspires me, and she gives me a lot of motivation.
Oh, I love that. And that's even a great, what about her posts would you say is like really that do inspire you the most?
I think she's just, I don't know what it is. Every time I see a picture of her, I just think, you're a right little ray of sunshine. She just makes me smile every time, no matter whether she's describing a tough day or a good day. She just makes me smile.
I love that. That's a great way to just even find someone who's just saying they make you. That's a perfect description of someone. They're a right little ray of sunshine. I love now. That's now sticking in my brain. I'm going to use that now. So you did mention that the couch and popcorn is something that you do quite often. So I imagine there would be a playlist of either TV shows or movies that you've either binged or shows that you think are good when you're having a bad health day, or if you're working from home, because I imagine as a blogger there are days where you're spending multiple days just sort of working on photo editing or writing content, and you like to kind of have a show in the background.
Yes, I watch so much TV. It's actually a little bit embarrassing. My Netflix is a really weird mix of TV shows. I definitely think any Louis Theroux documentary is always a good idea. I don't know if he's big in America, but he's great. You need to watch him.
No, I know. I'm for people watching on our YouTube channel, you're seeing the stunned face going, that doesn't sound familiar to me at all.
I know. Honestly, Louis Theroux, look him up. Great.
Good. What about other shows?
I really love cartoons.
Okay.
So any cartoons, but I really like adult ones. So Rick and Morty is the best. I love everything. BoJack Horseman, that's on Netflix. That's really good as well. And then in terms of films, I think the girlier and more teen-aimed, the better. I like watching a film where I like fall in love with the boy within the first 2 minutes, and then he breaks my heart and then mends it again.
So I'm guessing the new Netflix ones, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, is probably something you have watched, maybe?
Yes.
There we go. Thought so. Noah Centineo, hey.
Well, he's made my day. I was like, 2 films? Great, thank you.
I love it. No, I always say to people, especially because with running the charity, sometimes I'll be in my home office, sometimes I'm commuting. So what I'll always say is, even if you're not near a TV, if I'm commuting and I want sort of to get some entertainment virtually. I've mentioned this, I am pretty sure, on a different episode, but I know I'm going to re-mention it again because lots of new seasons are coming out. So there's a show you might have heard of called Scam, SKAM, and it's a Norwegian show about teenagers, and it follows them day to day, and it drops episodes virtually, and the actors have character accounts on Instagram, so their characters can interact with each other throughout the day when the episodes aren't on. And it did so well for 4 or 5 years in Norway that they put it on multiple countries, and they actually recently just launched Cam Spain and Cam Netherlands, and then Scam, Scam Italy's coming back, and then Scam Austin, Texas. So
wow.
It's in so many countries, and I obviously I speak Spanish, so Scam Spain has been fantastic for me because I don't need subtitles, but Scam Norway and Scam Italy have definitely need those subtitles to get through, but it's been fun, like you said, to sort of jump in on a show that follows teenagers, and the way that they provide their content is so millennial friendly, if we're going to put it in a different way. Yeah. Because they just drop, it's like Tuesday 2:45, and at Tuesday 2:45 in that country their episode just airs. So it's just been kind of a cool, fun way, and we've heard so much about it from our teenage audience at InvisiYouth. They constantly have like every Scam ready, and I'm pretty sure, I think people are saying that they can't wait until Scam comes to England so they can have a Scam in England as well.
This sounds so cool. I'm on it already.
On it.
Up for.
Have to be, absolutely. So I've always found, because like you even said, when you're working from home, it's nice to sort of fall into somebody else's universe, and it's been fun to have the same storyline with multiple countries, and shows that diversity really well. It's been a fun way to sort of revert back to my teenage self a little bit, for sure.
Definitely. I've just been rewatching Pretty Little Liars from the beginning. So
seasons 1 through 3, they were special. They were special. So what about, since you love fashion so much, I wanted to know what have been some brands that you would put on your fashion playlist that are comfortable or super fashionable that you like.
I love everything. My wardrobe, I've got like 3. So I'm probably the worst person to ask about brands because I will want to buy them all. I definitely think, I don't know if you've got it in America, but New Look in the UK is amazing. And it's something like 80% of the clothes are under £30, I think.
That's awesome.
So it's really, really good price points. And I always just think it has the nicest stuff. And then I'm a sucker for Topshop as well.
Topshop, when it came to the States, everybody got very excited.
I used to work in Topshop, so I really miss the discount.
I love it. See, now you have to get them to work with you as a blogger, so then you can get that ad discount you can sponsor it and then have all your clothes on there too.
Yeah, I did go to Topshop headquarters a couple months ago. So.
Ooh. Hello. Yes. I know one brand I was even going to mention too, because we had heard about it, because obviously a lot of young people like athleisure clothes. I know with you posting a lot about fitness all the time, that's probably what a lot of people in your comments will ask, is where you get your leggings or athletic wear. So one, I know they you can buy it online or everywhere, is Kate Hudson's line, Fabletics.
Yeah.
But we just saw it. They just dropped a new sort of 70s inspired collection, where 15%, right? Yeah, 15% of their new line is going to donate money to the nonprofit called Mind Up organization, which Kate Hudson's mom, Goldie Hawn, is the founder of, and it helps build, helps build self-esteem in young people so it can lower anxiety of kids and teenagers in classrooms across the U.S. and internationally. So I thought that was really great to not only have an athleisure line, and the clothes are 70s inspired clothes are all very colorful and floral and fabulous. And then obviously knowing that when you're buying something, a little bit's going to charity, I thought was a nice little nod to give a shout out to that for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And also, I recently watched Mamma Mia 2, so anything 70s, I'm in on that.
There we go. I love that. Oh my God, that was a good movie too. So we're just gonna add a new movie to our playlist. What about for you, different, what would you add to your like exercise playlist? Either different exercise apps or workout trends that you, even having a chronic illness as well, that have sort of worked with you well over the years?
Okay, this is a good one because I love everything fitness. Definitely for me, I found that Impact is awful. So I try to avoid Impact as much as possible, apart from boxing, because I just love boxing. So I limit how much I do of it, but I think boxing's just really gets out the frustration.
Right? Oh my God, the best stress reliever.
But definitely swimming is a great no impact option, and it's really relaxing as well. And I think the great thing that I find with swimming is I find it very hard not to go on my phone. So even if I'm at the gym, I'll be checking my emails, but obviously I mean my phone's waterproof, but I wouldn't take it in the pool with me.
You're like, no, I have self-control. My phone is not with me in the pool.
Exactly. I'm like, no, I must leave it in the locker.
I love that. No, even just from a physical therapy standpoint too, water, like aqua therapy, is more and more often, we'll be hearing that a lot, that people get to use that more often as sort of a physio option too. So that's a good idea. Yeah,
definitely. And if there's like a hot tub in your swimming pool as well, that's very nice.
Oh my God. I love that. Sauna, anything. Ooh, I'm smacking my mic. I'm getting so excited. There we go. So yeah, I thought on that one with the exercise trends, one that I got introduced to when I was on vacation in August was a friend of mine who's really big into yoga, and I did yoga for a while, but being hyper flexible, it's a very conscious activity for me because I hyperextend my muscles because I have connective tissues. I'm hyper elastic, so I will be overextending or even like moving muscle and joints in and out of place without much realizing, and it's a little bit painful. So I was always very apprehensive to do it very long term. It was sort of once a week I might do yoga sort of as a relaxing meditation. But my friend introduced me, we were on vacation with her family, and mine was Gaiam, which is a yoga company. They make the really cool yoga mats and everything. They, on their website, they have a membership which is like $10 a month is like a small membership, and you get access to all of their videos, but you can tailor it to you for that day. So if you only have 10 minutes or to an hour, if you want to focus on like your necks, your quad, your core, if you are having like a tense neck or something, and you can put in all of these categories of what level of yoga you're in, or if you want one that's more upbeat and energizing, if you want one that's more relaxing and meditation. So she was showing me all these scales, and she was saying, oh, are you feeling like, is your left side bothering you in your arm? Okay, let's do something more for your legs. And she was like able to move the scale around. So we were able to then pick one that worked perfectly for me. So when I figured that one out, and then figured out that it was only $10 a month, that it was sort of a cheap way, obviously, because as you know, we're going into physical training, and then you do a lot with fitness. It can be quite expensive to join a gym or do anything on the outside. So we thought that was a really fun thing that we would add to our playlist on our computer too.
And there's so many videos on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
YouTube's such a great resource.
It is. Also, shameless plug to us again. This show is on our YouTube channel, where you can watch this episode and see Allie and I talking to each other as well. So even kind of going off of that from a YouTube standpoint, for you as a blogger, have there been any tools or even just things that you've used to help with your blog as it was growing, whether it was apps that schedule posts or photo editing, things that you've been able to use as a blogger that you thought are always in your sort of playlist for work?
Yeah, definitely. So for editing, I use Lightroom CC, which is free on your phone. So that's really good. And you can get like a upgrade. It's about
four favorite letters.
Yeah, exactly. You can upgrade it to get all the features for I think it's about £5 or £7 a month. But
cool.
That's really worth it. That's how I get all the colors looking so neat in my feed. And then there's loads of really good planning apps or scheduling apps that you can do. So what do I use? Unum. It's UNUM.
Huh.
And so I can show you my feed for the next week.
Cool.
So I plan that just to check it all looks aesthetically pleasing. And because also I forget what poses I do, and I do them all the time. And then I suddenly end up putting 2 pictures of myself doing the exact same pose next to each other.
I love that, because I will hear that all the time, especially having for a lot of young people that work with InvisiYouth or listen or watch the podcast series. They always say, oh, I have brain fog. I completely forget when I do something, or I have short-term memory loss like myself. So that's a big thing that we'll have it would have been super helpful for me to have something like that, because I'll have my poor volunteers letting me know what outfits I've worn for the show, for the visual show, so they can let me know if I'm picking out a new outfit that I've worn it already and don't put it on
Yes,
camera
definitely.
again. I'll be like, did I wear that? They're like, yes, Dominique, 2 weeks ago. So that would have been perfect for me. Now I can just hear the chorus of volunteers cheering that you just named an app that took away a job for them for me. For sure. They're like, oh, thank God.
And then obviously Pinterest. Pinterest is just very addictive.
So what do you like the most about, because I love a good Pinterest suggestion. What do you like to follow the most or pin the most?
Oh, I pin quite a lot of motivational quotes.
Love it.
They're good. I have a good board for that. I've got one board which is only one picture on it, and it just says, my board's called Remember This, and it's a quote I can't remember it exactly, but it's something like, write your stories. If people wanted you to write better about them, they should have acted differently.
Oh,
I just love that. And I love that it's on its own board. So when I need to know that, I've got it.
It's ready. It's by itself with nothing else distracting it. I love that. I love that.
It's also really good to look up outfit inspiration on. I love that. See all the new trends, see how people are taking their photos, see outfits put together you might not have thought of, or find creators that wouldn't have come up on your Instagram.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good way, too, to think of that. That's a really good way to find new people and different ideas.
Yeah, I feel like Pinterest is a lot more of a community, because everyone reshares and repins things. I think it's really nice. I see a lot of people coming up that I would have never found otherwise.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So after we just made a really good playlist with Allie, we're going to go into our final segment, and this is a perfect way to end our episode with Allie. So we're going to do our segment called Path to Power.
Path to Power.
guys, our final segment is Path to Power, and this is where we get to discuss different moments and how-tos of owning your health while owning your career. So we get a discussion going of how to create power in each day, and not only making the job experience of being a blogger inclusive for yourself and adaptive for yourself, but how to make that industry very accepting and diverse for the chronic illness and disability community. So Allie, a big thing that we've talked about and that I've mentioned before on the show is when you're building a career where you're like a professional blogger, you're your own boss nine times out of 10. So how do you have that self-motivation every day if you're having a bad health day to actually go to work when you're not showing up for a boss?
I think the thing is it's a fine line with that, because one of the benefits about having this job is you're very flexible. So if I wake up and I go, I'm in so much pain, I can't do anything today, I can go back to bed for 2 hours and wake up and kind of try again.
Yeah.
So it's really good because there's that benefit. But obviously there's going to be times when you do need to kind of motivate yourself. And I think the thing with that is that there's just something so nice about working for yourself. Everything you achieve, you've achieved by yourself, for yourself. You reap all of the rewards of it. And I think there's something really lovely and motivating just about that.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's a big thing that we'll say too, is it's sort of if you're having a bad health day, something I've even had as well, is just sort of reminding yourself sort of why you built this, why you built your blogging company, why I've built InvisiYouth and you've built your job that you're running yourself. It's sort of that reminder of what you really like and why you like doing it so much that when you're having a bad health day, you're going, I can at least maybe do 1 hour of something today and then take a little bit of break. So be kind.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing to remember with blogging is it's social. Mm-hmm. I had a really, really bad day on Tuesday just in terms of like personal stuff that happened to me in terms of with work. And I shared it on my story and I had like over 100, 150 messages, just people being like, ignore it, you're fine, you're great. And I think that's the thing. If you feel comfortable when you're having a bad day, just rely and ask for a bit of support, and then you'll get that, and you'll get that motivation back in yourself. And it's a nice little reminder of like, oh yeah, this is who I'm doing this for. These people care about me and my journey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Knowing that there's a community out there is and even if it is like you have for yourself and we have for InvisiYouth, it's a virtual community, but it's still it feels very tangible, which a lot of people don't realize. If you're doing work that's quite virtual, it does feel that connection quite heavily at times when you need it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm kind of going off of that. What power do you think people can find in blogging about both sort of their interests like you have with fashion and fitness, as well as with illness activism or disability activism, like you've had that fine blend for yourself?
Oh, I think the great thing about it is it's always lovely to do a job that's creative. Mm-hmm. And you can, with Instagram and blogging and social media, you can take it down whatever path you want. As long as you're passionate about it, that passion will come through. Mm-hmm. So I follow some really great artists on Instagram, and not because I'm good at art, but just because they're passionate about it and that excites me.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that is just finding out what your passions are, and that's what keeps you going. Because if you love what you're doing and you love the content you're creating, you're not creating it for anyone else. Like, it sounds weird because obviously I know what my followers enjoy more and I'll do more of that. But when I create content and I'm like, I'm so proud of this, I'm excited to post it. And it's almost like I can't wait to show it to everyone.
No, I love that. And I know, like you even said, when you've done your side-by-side photos of what you see, what you don't see, you get the most engagement. And I would imagine for you that's sort of rewarding in both sense, because clearly you're picking out your outfits, you're taking nice photos that you like of yourself and selecting that photo. But then also on the other side, you're putting in the different adjectives and description and medical terms for both sides and putting that post together. So it is sort of empowering for you to be able to combine both.
Yeah, and I think the great thing is, even when you're just starting out, if you've got 10 followers, if you've got 100 followers, if you imagine those people standing in a room and you're on a stage and they're waiting to hear what you have to say, like, that's really empowering.
Oh, damn, that's good advice. I love that. So even on your end, because I know your audience has become so, like you've said, it was growing exponentially for you. Have you felt that your wider audience, when you post things that are a little more illness specific, do you think they always responded very well, or do they ask a lot of questions? How have you sort of found the reception of blending my fitness posts versus my illness posts?
I think what my followers like is that even with the sort of what you see, what you don't see posts, they're still quite nice, kind of, to look at. You know, there's still at least semi-pretty picture most of the time, hopefully. So I think the reception's been really good. And I've had a lot of people message me that, you know, don't know about, you know, fibromyalgia or ME, and they've gone, oh, I don't know about that, can you tell me more? Or I put up highlights on my Insta stories and they can watch them and find out more, and that's really nice. And it's even been from people that know me, like from when I was at college or university, and I've had messages like, I didn't realize you were that ill, I'm really sorry. And it's like, oh, it's fine, I'm not doing it for an apology, I'm not saying these things for that. So the reception's been really, really great, actually.
Yeah, and have you felt that even if you've worked with other bloggers, because I know you mentioned you collaborated, obviously, like we're collaborating now, but when you've collaborated, that's been empowering for yourself if you're working with a blogger that necessarily doesn't have a chronic illness or disability, and they get to kind of see how you work as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the hard thing about that is that there is that expectation, and because it's an invisible illness very much, you know, people see me and they go, oh, you look fine, and they kind of forget that there's something going on, that I might be in pain, that I might be tired. So I think actually talking about it on my social media has made that easier, because it's sort of reminded people, oh, I need to check in and plan for a rest break, or I need to check in and make sure she's okay with this, it's not too long, it's not too difficult. So that's been really good, actually.
Oh, yeah, I was even going to say, because similar to myself with having an invisible illness, when you do discuss it more often on your own terms and in the narrative you like, it allows people to see it more often, so it sticks sort of in their subconscious that when they work with you, they're aware, like you said, kind of, I probably should check in on a few other things because I know this is something that she deals with.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's really helpful. That's something I found really helpful for myself. And I've kind of had to be quite, not harsh, but I've had to be quite insistent sometimes. You know, it is very easy for people to look at me and see me shooting and forget. And I'm one of those people, I hate photos of myself if I'm like pouting. So I'm always smiling when I'm shooting. Like no matter how much pain I'm in, I will have a smile plastered across my face. So it is very hard for people to forget that. And I think having that narrative throughout my social media, it just gives people that little reminder. And I can kind of go, oh, can we take a break? And then they'll go, oh, yeah, of course, that's why, you know, and they're thinking about it in the back of their head. So I think that's been really good. But, I mean, I did some, on Instagram stories, there was a lot of templates going around. And I collaborated with another blogger, Kelsey, who we made some sort of chronic illness templates. And it allowed people to share their stories about their chronic illness. And obviously she came to me, she does a lot of graphic design work. So she was like, I'll do the templates, but you need to have the words, because she was like, I don't have those words and I don't know what needs to go on there. Yeah. So I think that was probably my favorite collaboration.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And even kind of going off of that, what would be some other suggestions that you would give to young adults that are blogging or maybe just starting out, or they have a good blogging community that when they live with a chronic illness or disability and they're thinking of, I want to see if I can take this to more of a professional level?
I think the thing I found really helpful is to remember that I've got a chronic illness. It sounds really silly, but sometimes you see what other people are doing and you go, well, I should be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's just reminding yourself that actually you're going to have to work in a different way. I've got friends, and I used to go out and shoot. I would shoot 7 outfits in a day. And I did this last winter when it was snowing.
Oh, gosh.
And it made me really ill, obviously. So now it's like I'll shoot 1 or 2 outfits every couple days. So I think it's working around your illness and sort of thinking, okay, this is how most people do it. That's not going to work for me. What will work for me? Yeah. I think that's the key thing.
Yeah, and a big thing, like we'll always say when it comes to sort of being your own boss, that can be a way of building that path to power, is sort of knowing in your schedule what are like the hard deadlines, that if you're working with another person or a company, what are the definite date deadlines you have to meet, and then what are sort of the softer deadlines that you can like write in pencil in a way, as we'll describe, that go through your day to day. Like you said, shooting different outfits, or what kinds of posts you want to put up constantly, or different times of the day. It's easier to move those around, but no, you can move the other ones around because they're more tangible to you to kind of shift and go, I can't do it today, let me do it Wednesday or something.
Yeah.
And then the hard deadlines are like, I need to post, this might be an opportunity to be sponsored on a post, so I need to post this on the date that I promised. So let me get this one done first.
But I think even being honest with brands, I've had some brands contact me and they'll be like, okay, cool, we expect you to post the picture of this coat within 3 days of receiving it. And you just got to be honest and get back and go, that doesn't work for me. This is what I would usually do. I hope that's all right. And most of the time they're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly, because they still know that you are going to be posting the quality content, which is the reason that they reached out to you in the first place.
Exactly, and it's kind of, you've got to ask to get things in this industry. Things don't just come to you all of the time. So I think reaching out to brands that you really love, that you think they will see something in you. So, for example, there might be a brand, if you've got a mental health problem, that does, donates a portion of its profits to charity. Like, find out what those brands are, and then, like, introduce yourself to them. Say to them what you can offer them as well as what they can offer you.
Yeah, absolutely. We always say it's that mutual benefit is a prime way of discussing things with people. And like you said, that's a big suggestion for people in wanting to go to blogging professionally, or even in any industry, is just asking for what you want, looking at who you would want to work with, and then just reaching out and saying, would you want to work with me? And how would that be mutually beneficial?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think a lot of companies get very generic emails that will be like, oh, I'm a blogger, here's my information. And, if you're getting that email 200 times a day, you're not going to reply to them. Mm-hmm. But if someone goes, I'm a blogger, this is why I'm different, this is my unique selling point, this is a community, when brands work with me, they're getting access to a community that they might not usually get access to.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's sharing what's different about you. I think that works really well, and I've had a lot of good feedback from brands about that. Brands are keen on being more diverse and working with a more diverse range of people. Mm-hmm. So if you can give them that, then give them that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that. And sort of kind of going off of that, sort of on a nice ending note, what have been some of the most impactful or powerful parts of your work as a blogger, of stories of people that you've gotten to work with, or just the work itself? What has been the most empowering for you?
Oh, this is so hard. There's been so many really great moments. I mean, I've been really lucky, and I've worked with some brands that I've loved for years. But probably sort of the best bit for me is there's an author called Matt Haig who has written a couple mental health books. He's written 100 Reasons to Stay Alive. It's Reasons to Stay Alive, and a new one, Notes on a Nervous Planet. And he's great on Twitter, so I recommend following him. But he always will share his struggles with mental health, and his books are just so lovely to read and just really connected with me on an emotional level. And I remember someone asked me one of my favorite books or something, and I put it on my Insta story and said, oh, Matt Haig. And then he followed me and he messaged me and he just sent me a message and he just said, you're doing really great work. And I think that's made like my life.
Oh, I love that. No, yeah, I'm shameless. We do follow him too, because like you said, his Twitter feed is very, very entertaining and impactful at the same time, which we appreciate, especially in the mental health community. It's nice to sort of be able to really impact people and make powerful statements for change, but then also finding the humor, which is always a nice combination when you live with an illness or disability, for sure.
Yeah, and it's I think that's the great thing about social media. I never expected to connect with someone whose books I read.
Yeah.
But you can, and it's just a really lovely moment knowing that someone that you really care about and idolize and have so much admiration for, it's like, wow, even just him liking my tweet would have made me be like, okay, he knows I exist. And that's just really lovely to know, like someone out there that you care about knows you exist.
No, I absolutely agree. And what, if we're going to end on a good note with you, what would be something that would be a powerful moment for you as a blogger that you, as a goal, would still love to be able to do, even a content piece or something that might be able to combine your brand with your illness activism?
Oh, that's so tough. I've got a lot of goals like in the back of my head. I think I would love to get somehow off of social media and onto some sort of more mainstream media in some sort of context, whether that's like a magazine article or some sort of TV piece. I think that would be the ultimate goal of reaching people that I wouldn't usually reach.
Yeah. No,
so
absolutely.
that's my aim. I don't know how that's going to go.
No, absolutely. And I love that's your aim, because even similarly with InvisiYouth, it's not only just reaching the young adults with illnesses and disabilities, but then reaching their support network, so their siblings, their parents, their clinicians, their doctors too, that are healthy or able-bodied, so that they can sort of listen to this podcast or watch the video podcasts and laugh and learn life tips as well, but then sort of open their minds to a whole other community that they are living with every day.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes you just don't know how to reach people. Mm-hmm. And it's just a reminder of, if you just keep going, keep plowing through, and you will reach the people somehow.
Absolutely. See, you will reach the people. So we're going to end on that note with Ali, and we're going to say thank you so much for being our special guest for this. I'm so happy that you were our blogger, that we got to be our special guest. And we want to have all of our listeners and viewers be able to find you on social media and your blog. So can you list off some of the handles on your social media and your website so people can find you?
Yes, I'm quite easy to find because they're all the same. So on everything, I don't really use Facebook because I'm just not good with Facebook. But Twitter, Instagram, I use Snapchat if you want to add me, but I probably won't reply to you. It's all Ali Hemsley, so ALIHEMSLEY. And then my blog is www.alihemsley.com.
I love that. Cool. And like always, guys, you can find InvisiYouth Charity on our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at InvisiYouth. And you can find the video podcast series on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe while you are watching this, and a thumbs up when you watch this episode with Ali and I. And go to our audio podcast channels on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and more. And make sure you hit that subscribe and give it some stars and a comment too. And then we can connect with you guys more. So we want to thank everybody again for checking in on this episode, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.